What's up? Wrestling vs. family. Picture this absolute chaos. Roman Reigns, the tribal chief himself, involved in a shocking backstage situation with AJ Lee that has the entire WWE universe talking. Today we're breaking down this explosive scenario that would send shockwaves through the wrestling world. Hit that subscribe button right now because this is about to get intense. Let's dive in. Okay. Wrestling vs. family. Before we go any further, let me be completely transparent with you. What we're discussing today is a hypothetical scenario, a creative exploration of what could create major drama in the WWE universe. This is fantasy booking and storytelling analysis, not reporting on real events. Now that we've got that cleared up, let's explore why this scenario has fans buzzing and what it tells us about compelling wrestling storytelling. In professional wrestling, the most captivating storylines often come from unexpected confrontations and backstage drama that blur the lines between competition and personal conflict. The idea of Roman Reigns, one of the most dominant forces in WWE history, being involved in any controversial backstage situation immediately grabs attention because of his position at the top of the wrestling mountain. Let's talk about Roman Reigns for a moment. The tribal chief has established himself as the guy in WWE, the undisputed head of the table, the champion who has held gold longer than most wrestlers stay in the business. His character evolution from the powerhouse Shield member to the calculating, dominant tribal leader has been one of the most successful transformations in wrestling history. Everything he does carries weight and consequences. Now, AJ Lee represents something equally powerful in WWE history. She was a trailblazer for women's wrestling, a performer who brought incredible athleticism, genuine charisma, and compelling storytelling to the women's division during her era. Her legacy in WWE is significant, and she's remembered as one of the most talented and influential female performers of her generation. So what would happen in a hypothetical scenario where these two names collide in a backstage situation? Let's explore this from a storytelling perspective that respects both performers and the business of professional wrestling. Imagine a scenario where WWE is in the middle of a major storyline involving multiple championships and competing factions. Roman Reigns, as the tribal chief, is protecting his empire and his family's legacy. Everything revolves around maintaining power, control, and dominance. The bloodline storyline has shown us that Roman takes any threat to his position seriously. In this hypothetical scenario, let's say AJ Lee returns to WWE in some capacity, perhaps as a special guest, a manager, or an advocate for a rising superstar who's challenging for Roman's championship. Maybe she's representing someone Roman sees as a legitimate threat to his reign. Maybe she's aligned with a faction that's trying to dethrone the bloodline. The tension would build over weeks. AJ would use her incredible mic skills to question Roman's methods, to challenge his authority, to support her client or ally in ways that get under the tribal chief's skin. She wouldn't be physically challenging him, but she'd be using strategy, psychology, and her platform to create problems for Roman's carefully constructed empire. This is where professional wrestling storytelling gets interesting. Family. Roman Reigns' character is built on respect, hierarchy, and acknowledging the tribal chief. Anyone who doesn't fall in line faces consequences. So when someone like AJ Lee, representing a major threat to his championship or his family's position, refuses to show that acknowledgement, that creates conflict. In a backstage segment, we could see Roman approach AJ with his typical intimidating presence. The Wiseman Paul Heyman would be at his side, the Usos flanking him, creating that bloodline presence that makes everyone in WWE take notice. The confrontation wouldn't be physical, because that's not what this scenario is about, but it would be intense from a character and story perspective. Roman might deliver a chilling warning, speaking in that controlled, dangerous tone he's perfected. He'd make it clear that anyone who challenges the bloodline, anyone who threatens his position, anyone who disrespects the tribal chief will face consequences. Not threats of physical violence against AJ, but rather warnings about what will happen to her client, her ally, or anyone she's supporting who dares step into the ring with him. You come back to my WWE, to my ring, representing someone who thinks they can take what belongs to me. You better understand something. I'm not the person you remember. I'm not the guy who plays games. I'm the tribal chief, and everyone acknowledges me. Your client. They're going to learn that lesson the hard way. And you're going to watch it happen. AJ Lee, being the strong character she always portrayed, wouldn't back down. She'd stand her ground, fire back with her own brand of confidence and defiance. She'd make it clear that she's not intimidated by titles, by power plays, or by the bloodline's tactics. She believes in her client, in her cause, and she's not going anywhere. Roman, you've got everyone in this company scared to death of you. But I've been in this business long enough to know that every empire eventually falls. Every dominant champion eventually gets dethroned. And maybe, just maybe, I'm here to watch that happen up close. The beauty of this hypothetical scenario is that it creates drama without crossing inappropriate lines. It's about competition, about power struggles, about different philosophies colliding in the world of professional wrestling. Roman represents established dominance and demanding respect. AJ represents the courage to challenge that dominance and support the next generation. This kind of storyline would naturally lead to an epic championship match where AJ's client faces Roman Reigns. The backstage confrontation serves as the spark that ignites a larger rivalry. Every interaction between them builds anticipation for the eventual showdown where Roman has to prove his dominance in the ring against a motivated challenger who has a fierce advocate in their corner. The WWE universe would be invested because both characters bring legitimate credibility to the story. Roman Reigns is the ultimate final boss that everyone wants to see challenged. AJ Lee's involvement adds star power, unpredictability, and a voice that can actually stand up to the tribal chief's psychological warfare. Throughout the build, you'd see more confrontations. Maybe AJ outsmarts the bloodline with strategic advantages for her client. Maybe she helps level the playing field against the numbers game that the Usos provide. Maybe she gets in Paul Heyman's head, creating psychological warfare that affects Roman's typical composure. The genius of this type of storyline is that it respects everyone involved. Roman remains the dominant, intimidating champion who takes all challenges seriously. AJ is portrayed as the clever, fearless advocate who refuses to be bullied. And the actual wrestler she's supporting gets elevated by being part of such a high-profile feud. Leading to the championship match, the intensity would reach fever pitch. Roman would cut promos about crushing anyone who disrespects the bloodline. AJ would fire back about how true champions don't need an army to retain their titles. The back and forth would be compelling television that keeps fans engaged and talking on social media. On the night of the big match, the atmosphere would be electric. The crowd would be split between supporting the tribal chief and wanting to see the challenger, backed by AJ Lee, pull off the impossible. The match itself would be incredible, showcasing Roman's power and the challenger's heart and determination. AJ's presence at ringside would add an extra layer to everything. She'd rally her client, she'd counter the bloodline's tactics, she'd be a difference maker in ways that make narrative sense. Whether her client wins or loses, the story would be elevated by her involvement and the weeks of build featuring these backstage confrontations. Here's what makes this hypothetical scenario so powerful from a storytelling perspective. It shows how professional wrestling can create compelling drama through character conflict, power dynamics, and competing philosophies without requiring anything inappropriate or disrespectful. It's about competition, about legacy, about what people are willing to do to achieve their goals in WWE. This is the kind of creative storytelling that wrestling fans love to imagine and discuss. It takes established characters with rich histories and places them in new situations that test their values, their resolve, and their ability to adapt. Roman Reigns defending his empire against all challengers. AJ Lee proving she can still hang with the absolute best that WWE has to offer. The aftermath of such a storyline would be equally fascinating. If AJ's client wins, it's a massive upset that shifts the entire WWE landscape. If Roman retains, it further cements his legacy as an unstoppable force, but AJ and her client earn respect for pushing him to his limits. Either way, everyone involved comes out of the story elevated. Wrestling vs. family. This is what great wrestling storytelling looks like. It's about creating situations where characters with different motivations collide, where the stakes feel real, and where fans become emotionally invested in the outcome. It's about respecting the performers' legacies while pushing them in new creative directions. The hypothetical backstage confrontation between Roman and AJ serves as the catalyst for a larger story about power, respect, and what it takes to survive at the top of WWE. It's layered, it's compelling, and it's the kind of content that makes wrestling appointment television. Now, I want to hear from you, Wrestling vs. Family. What do you think about this hypothetical scenario? How would you book a storyline involving Roman Reigns and a returning legend like AJ Lee? Who would you have AJ advocate for in a championship challenge against the Tribal Chief? Drop your fantasy bookings in the comments below. If you enjoyed this creative storytelling breakdown, show some love by smashing that like button. Make sure you're subscribed to Wrestling vs. CC because we're bringing you the most creative fantasy bookings and wrestling analysis on YouTube. Hit that notification bell so you never miss our content. Remember, family, the beauty of being wrestling fans is that we get to imagine these incredible storylines, to think about how our favorite performers could interact in new and exciting ways. We get to appreciate the art of storytelling in professional wrestling and discuss what makes for compelling television. This hypothetical Roman Reigns and AJ Lee scenario represents everything we love about creative wrestling storytelling: strong characters, high stakes, compelling conflict, and respect for the performers and their legacies. Whether something like this ever happens or remains in the realm of fantasy booking, it's fun to explore the possibilities. Until next time, keep celebrating the storytelling art of professional wrestling, keep creating your own fantasy bookings, and keep being the best wrestling community on the internet. Wrestling is about imagination, creativity, and passion, and you all bring that energy every single day. I'll see you in the next video, Wrestling vs. Family. Stay creative, stay passionate, and never stop loving this amazing business. Peace.